Yo, what's up, everybody? Another Sunday means another Q&A video. We've got some fun ones to talk about. A lot about like franchising and careers ending and some really sad stuff, actually. We've also got some fun stuff about anime and other personal things. So with that said, let's get straight to the questions. What is up, everybody? Lawler here. Excited to answer your guys' questions as every week on Sunday. It's becoming a staple, and it's probably one of my favorite videos, actually, to make during the week. But I can't do it without you guys' help. So, as always, I do appreciate some of these questions. Some are a little weird, and we leave those alone. But for the most part, if you guys do have questions, things you'd like me to answer about my personal life or otherwise, Rocket League, casting, or esports, or anything like that, comments down below. You are the ones that decide what I talk about every Sunday. It's been a blast. Or you can come and do it live on Twitch, which a lot of you guys have been coming over. Twitch.tv/Lawler. Stream every day, but Sunday and Tuesday. I said that out of order, but today's Sunday, so it makes a little more sense. Either way, it's really fun. It's really appreciated. First question is going to be from Zachary Klein that says, how long do you think the average RLCS career will last? Barely any of the people left from Season 1. Very true. And it seems like there are many people that are retiring after 3 to 4 years and switching to content creation or something to that extent. Do you think the careers will get longer, or how do you think a shorter versus longer average career would impact the scene? Also, the thumbnail for this video is amazing. Thank you. I figured, just so you guys are aware, every Sunday now I'm going to try to do like a meme template, but like make it Rocket League. We'll see how it goes. It's been pretty fun actually going through some of these meme templates. I did the Hotline Bling one with like True Neutral, and then the Slap Car, but I turned it into an Octave. This bad boy can fit so many things. Really fun. So I'm curious on what I'm going to do. I haven't made the thumbnail for this video yet, but we'll get to it. So RLCS careers, this is pretty common for just pro players in general across all of esports. The most common things that go into it: how old are you? Are your reflexes and stuff starting to dwindle? And what is your involvement? Staying at a top team obviously helps. There's obviously a lot of things behind the scenes that also help you kind of stay in that area. If you've got notoriety, if you have certain things that allow you to stay at the top. What's your work ethic? A lot of factors that are controlled obviously by the player, and just own personal desire. Are you burnt out? Are you not having any more fun? Is the system or the format or anything like that still enticing for you to go and grind? For a lot of players right now, it's kind of this weird spot because of the pandemic. No live events, kind of killing that feeling. And when that comes back, I think you are going to see a resurgence of all these players remotivated and reinvigorated to go and grind. You're kind of hitting the nail on the head, though. Usually 3 to 4 years is the average. There's some way less than that. There's some way longer than that. You can look at some of the OGs like Kronovi and stuff who are still competing. Jacob, Kronovi, Cookser, guys that still compete in like top 15 rosters. So there is obviously exceptions to the rule, but 3 to 4 years, I'd probably even say 2 to 3 years is pretty common as the average, but that changes quite a bit. Now, I will say, switching to content creation isn't the way. I don't think people should switch to content creation, I guess is the best way I would say it. You should start doing content creation now, and then if it takes off and is doing well, then as a pro you can decide, do I enjoy doing this more, or do I still want to compete, balancing it, all that kind of stuff. It's something that you should 1000%. I just did a talk last Thursday with a school about building your brand or brand creation and what that means. If you guys would like a full detailed video on what brand creation is, let me know in the comments down below as well. But the concept of building a brand and what that means and all that kind of stuff. And these players should obviously be taking the advantage of having this level of exposure and publicity to build a fan base so outside of Rocket League they can continue to thrive. Rizzo is a prime example. So depending on how that is, careers can, as a pro, go longer or shorter depending on some of that enticement from other opportunities. I do think with a lot of these younger players coming in, if Rocket League goes the way I hope it does, you may see some careers last a little bit longer for the ones that are like the Garretts, the really good work ethic, really professional, that kind of stuff. If things go the way I think they will, which I'll answer in another question here in a bit, I do think that because some of the infrastructure and the people in play are going to make things a bit more professional, you should see those that have that work ethic rewarded heavily for it and sticking around a lot longer, whether it be as a player, coach, manager, broadcast talent, whatever the factor may be. Because as a pro, I think once you start out competing and your interests and stuff change, which is going to happen when you come in at 15, you may find out that you prefer content creation. You may prefer that you like actually just being on broadcast and have the mindset for it and can articulate your thoughts really well and become a caster. You may want to go to management position. Like there's so many different factors. You may want to just work in production and do like stuff like Findable Carpet's doing, like building LED signs with his mechanical engineering degree. Really cool stuff. There's a lot of different factors that people don't talk about when it comes to esports. So average 3 to 4 years, I would say. I think the careers will probably get a little bit longer. On average, it'll probably be shorter. But it also may change and kind of balance itself out because of like a level of professionalism that may come with it. So overall, I think it'll stay about the same. But yeah, 2 to 4 years is pretty common. 3 years if you want to go in the middle. This next part, I'm actually going to take 2 questions and put them together. One comes from Pilot Jack that says, what players do you think are seeing the end of their RLCS Rocket League careers? Personally, I think Kronovi, Cookster, and Violent Panda will be retiring by the end of RLCS 11. And then Colin Doyle asks, how would I feel about things going to like a franchise league like the CDL or the Overwatch League? As a reminder, I'll be putting out a video here soon about my trip to the version 1 headquarters that I went to this past weekend, discussing and talking with them. Even though this video is coming out on Sunday, I'm technically here right now or driving home, but hope to be providing some insight into all of that. But how I feel about CDL, Overwatch League type franchises, and how it would apply to RLCS. So the first thing, because it carries over to the last question really well, is franchise leagues. I do think in the future, Rocket League will go to franchise leagues. That is ultimately up to the infrastructure and the creation and the limitations that Psyonix Epic has. If they decide to build out and expand and do stuff, there's a lot of things that need to be done. Primarily, their team can't just be 5 people. So I do think it is something that is possible in the future. I've talked a ton about what franchising is and what it could be and what it could mean. Player union possibilities, minimal contracts, big name players like Garrett really getting paid like 6-figure plus salaries, bare minimum. When you talk about games like League of Legends where players come over for millions of dollars, it's because of some of these things that are in place. I will say I do like it. I definitely have concerns for it in regards to, because soccer and I guess soccer with Rocket League is so accessible, you are going to see some very greedy, evil corporations come in and try to make a quick buck rather than actually looking out for the people. So that is definitely a concern. But again, Psyonix, with how hands-on they are with their pros, that probably shouldn't happen, and you'd hope it doesn't happen. But again, there's always a chance for it too. So ultimately, I do want it to happen long-term. I do think there can be rules put in place so the players are still protected and don't get abused in regards to bad contracts and stuff like that, which is still happening, unfortunately. But I do think it would do really well for Rocket League. I think we all agree that Rocket League is best on a LAN environment, and the difficulties with how often rosters change, a franchise league would build some more stability in that regard, a little bit more consistency, which we are getting with RLCS X last season, which was really cool, where teams are sticking together for a much longer time. There's less like every 6 months, everything flip-flops, which is why our off-season is really crazy right now. And it could lead to some really good things. So I am a huge fan of it personally. And it would bring in a lot of things that I think are very much so desirable that I can always talk about in more detail if you guys would like. As for players that are kind of towards the tail end of their career, I do think it is extremely difficult for some of the guys that have been around here since day one to continue as they get older, to keep up with mechanics and rotational play and everything else. This game, especially for people like Kronovi, they've been playing since SART BC, the predecessor, Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket-Powered Battle Cars, which is a game that for many started 13 years ago or so, and they are obviously having to learn and adjust a lot over time. And you get these younger kids who are 15 that come into Rocket League fresh, and they are able to develop and learn based upon things that were already discovered, which gives them a leg up. And the brain's still developing and they grasp it really quickly. It's really tough to keep up. We saw that already in the shift between the Season 2, Season 3 meta, where after Season 2 backboard meta going into Season 3, speed of the game just really amplified. And you saw people like Cookser and Kronovi and stuff, and Remco's and that type of class of talent kind of take a step back as we saw a lot of newer names really come to light. I will say that you are starting to see it more so that they can still find rosters, but is it rosters that are going to be capable of going to LAN? I don't think so. I look at players like Kronovi, Cooks, Jacob, all the OGs, people that I love and enjoy, big fans of them. It is very difficult once you get bumped out of the top 8 to make it back in. It's a level of respect. It's a level of people looking out because understand right now that most roster changes are done by word of player as well as coaches involved and not necessarily staff. So I do see and hope that if that stuff does happen, players like Kronovi decide to go either back to content or maybe go as a broadcast talent and go on the desk next to Gibbs, which I would love Kronovi and Gibbs on the desk bantering about the good old days, and like just it would be so nice. So I do expect to see that in the future at some point, but as for how long they can compete, I think they can keep going, man. All of them are very talented. Still, I think Violent Panda probably in the best position when it comes to where he's at in a competitive environment, but I also look at all those guys and see what they can bring to the table when it comes to being a coach or an analyst or something to that extent. Someone like Violent Panda pretty much has every door open to him depending on what he wants to do. So I think it's tough to give you a rough estimate on when their professional career will end, but I do agree that some of them are starting to trickle out. It is going to be the last of the OGs here probably in the next year or two, which is pretty crazy to think about. They've been able to do it for going on 5, almost 6 years now. Frankie Waterman says, which teams, players are you looking forward to seeing in RLCS 11? Number 1 is True Neutral by far. I've already said that numerous times in my roster videos. True Neutral in NA, number 1 by far. I'm excited to see what G2 does if it does end up seeing roster changes with both them. You can also bring Rogue into that conversation. What's going to happen with that roster? I want to see where Percy goes really, really bad. Over in Europe, yes, all of it. What's the new Team Liquid roster going to be if it's built around Ronicky? Are Speed and Fruity going to find new rosters, or what's going to happen with them? Because we haven't heard much. Is version 1 going to change or not? Like, there's so many. Like, I'm a huge fan of seeing what the new teams are, and then even more so seeing how they develop, what's going to be next. But right now, 1000% is True Neutral at the top in NA. I got to see how that plays out. And then obviously you take any of the rosters that are in conversation of like top 8, top 10 position. What are they doing and what changes are they making in order to make themselves viable for the upcoming season? That stuff is always really exciting. Miggy Slayer asks, with the introduction of best of sets in RLCS X, do you think subs could potentially play a bigger role in the future of RLCS seasons? No. No offense to subs, they're pretty much useless. Although they are very important for a team, they are there for worst case scenario. Teams will always put emphasis on playing with the same 3 people because one player has such huge impact to what goes into a game. That's why I don't do top 25 player lists. I do, these are the best teams, because everybody on the team is so important in Rocket League now more than ever. So if you put time and effort into a player that is not part of that regular rotation, you are automatically hindering your team and putting your team at a disadvantage. Although subs are important, they are there in case of worst case scenario. This player can't attend due to being sick or an injury or travel issues, stuff like that. But it should, in my opinion, never be primary focus on the actual current roster. I do not see subs having a big role. I don't think it'll ever be a thing in Rocket League. The only time I do is if you see organizations have an academy team and they use those subs as a way to have dedicated scrims against, as well as if someone is underperforming, they can plug in a sub that is already on their payroll into a spot. You see that in games like League of Legends, where they kind of cycle through instead. But most top tier players that are able to compete in the RLCS are competing for a team. That is pretty common. It is better to compete and to put your name out there through performance than it is to sit on a roster with a big name associated to it. Rare circumstance with Drees. What happened with Drees in the Rizzo situation is very, very rare. But I commend it. Same thing with like Sathu getting a couple reps under Space Station. That stuff is not to be expected, but I do not think subs are going to have a big role. It is also why I'm very happy that Psyonix has given rosters a dedicated role for coaches and managers. Because in the past, coaches were also subs. So Sizz, Chrome, etc. were listed as a sub, where now I think they're just listed as coaches, which I think is a lot better to not have to worry about, well, shoot, if something goes wrong, I've got to be the guy to fill in, even though I haven't been playing. So really important stuff there. But no, subs I don't think are going to take any bigger roles anytime soon. Hermes asks, what anime are you looking forward to most this season? I actually haven't really looked at any of the new releases for anime this season. There's a couple of continuations for like Reincarnated as a Slime Part 2 for Season 2 and stuff, which is pretty cool. Especially after the dark stuff that happened. It got really, really dark in the end of Season 2 Part 1. So stuff like that. But I try to watch anything and everything. Last season, I watched legitimately 12 shows at once. Kind of a problem. My friends make fun of me for it. But at the same time, when they ask me for new shows, I can give them all of them. So I kind of like to just explore. I usually watch or try like any show that sounds pretty enticing or recommended. I give it at least like 3-4 episodes because that's kind of the like golden time for anime to like give you the hook so you're into it. And if I don't like it by then I kind of just drop off. But yeah, they've been putting out some really good stuff lately. And yeah, I just keep my mind open and I'm looking forward to it. So none really in particular, if I'm being honest. I haven't looked at the list for the summer season. So surprise me, anime. What do you got? Crunchyroll Funimation. Hit me with it. That is going to wrap it up for your Sunday Q&A. This was a long one, a lot to discuss. Really good questions. If you guys would like your questions answered in another video, make sure you submit them in the comments down below. But that is going to do it for me. Hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.